Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Report: Pittsburgh Steelers have concerning update for offense following OTAs. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense received a concerning report following OTAs this spring. The Steelers made overhauling the offense a priority this offseason. A few newcomers are struggling to find their footing with the Steelers. The Steelers' most important change was at quarterback. Mark Kaboly with The Athletic thinks Russell Wilson has been a positive addition to the Steelers this spring. However, he named Justin Fields one of the Steelers' biggest losers during OTAs. The Steelers invested heavily in the offensive line during April's draft. They selected 3 offensive linemen in the first 4 rounds. This certainly doesn't mean Fotanu will be a bust or never be a star. But he makes the list because more is ahead of him on the depth chart, which is not his fault but the reality of the situation. Sure, that can change quickly in Latrobe, but the limited amount of time Fotanu has to get acclimated to the NFL, coupled with how the organization approached the Broderick Jones/Moore battle last year, makes you wonder. Fotanu is smart and talented, and that comes through immediately, but he must make strides to win a starting job. The Steelers selected Fotanu with the number 20 pick. As such, he's expected to be a Week 1 starter. He'll have to show a lot of progress when the pads come on in training camp to earn the starting job. Zach Frazier, the Steelers' number 2 pick in the draft, should also be a Week 1 starter. Per Kaboly, he's behind Herbig, who was one of the Steelers' winners at OTAs. It would have been nice to see Frazier work more with the first team than he did, but it didn't materialize, as Nate Herbig took most of the reps with linemen limited to drill work. For the most part, it's hard to get a grasp on what kind of player Frazier will be once he puts the pads on. Everything suggests he will take over the starting spot within a week of camp and never relinquish it. But once again, when a guy doesn't take first-team reps, you have to think about Jones last year and how Tomlin approached that situation. It's concerning how far behind the Steelers' rookies were at OTAs. Things could change at training camp, but the Steelers will go into the summer dead period with a lot of uncertainty at a unit that needs to improve big time so that Wilson can have a chance to succeed this season. Pittsburgh Steelers weapon identified as candidate to break Calvin Johnson's NFL record. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver George Pickens is a weapon on the rise. After posting a total of 1,140 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns on 63 receptions and 106 targets in 2023, his second season in the NFL, Pickens has been named by Bucky Brooks of the NFL Network as among the top candidates to break former Detroit Lions star wideout Calvin Johnson's single-season record of 1,964 receiving yards. Though the Steelers will adhere to a run-centric offensive approach under new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, Pickens could light up the stat sheet as the big play specialist on the perimeter. The third-year pro has averaged nearly 17 yards per catch for his career, including a league-leading 18.1 yards per catch in 2023 with a revolving door at quarterback. With Russell Wilson and Justin Fields potentially being significant upgrades over their predecessors, the Steelers' top playmaker could see his numbers spike as the focal point of a passing game committed to pushing the ball down the field. The Steelers have a new starting quarterback in Russell Wilson, and they also traded for Justin Fields in the offseason. 5 teams that should be calling the 49ers about Brandon Aiyuk. After Brandon Aiyuk's surprise admission on Monday that the San Francisco 49ers don't want him back, it seems more possible than ever that the 26-year-old wide receiver could be traded sometime before the start of the regular season. After back-to-back 75-catch, 1,000-yard seasons, Aiyuk's trade value is pretty high, and if San Francisco does part ways with him, it's likely looking at a pretty strong return. Here are 5 teams that should be calling the 49ers with trade offers for the star wideout. The Panthers made solid upgrades to the WR core during the offseason in trading for Deontay Johnson and drafting Xavier Legette, but neither is even close to being on Aiyuk's level. Leggett is a rookie who presumably has a learning curve ahead of him, and Johnson has just one 1,000-yard season under his belt in 5 years and a concerningly high drop rate of 8.1% over his career. If the Panthers really want to help second-year quarterback Bryce Young, adding a top 10 caliber pass catcher is the way to do it. It would also allow the Panthers to line Johnson up out wide and move Leggett into the slot, where he played 35% of his snaps at South Carolina last season and saw strong success. A 1-2-3 of Aiyuk, Johnson and/or Leggett/Adam Thielen is much more promising than what Carolina has right now. Sure, the Chargers have spent top 64 draft picks in each of the last 2 drafts on receivers, but they can really make it up to QB Justin Herbert for trading his number 1 WR Keenan Allen to the Bears and cutting his number 2 Mike Williams in a cap-saving move by bringing in a talented downfield threat like Aiyuk. Aiyuk's presence in the lineup would alleviate the pressure on both Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey to step into a role that could be too big for them right away, and he would give LA a legitimate number 1 target with some solid depth players like Joshua Palmer, DJ Chark and Brendan Rice. Playing with a gunslinger like Herbert, Aiyuk could put up all-pro numbers in 2024. The Jets were among 3 teams who reportedly tried to trade for Minnesota Vikings star Justin Jefferson before the 2024 draft, so why not make a strong push for a pretty solid consolation prize like Aiyuk? New York already has a 23-year-old star in Garrett Wilson, and the team could give him a 26-year-old running mate, who, in tandem, could wreak havoc on opposing defenses together. It's pretty clear that the Jets are all in on next season, and jobs could be on the line. Rolling with a WR group as deep as Aiyuk, Wilson, Williams, Allen Lazard and Malachi Corley, New York would arguably have the strongest WR core in the NFL 1-5. Of all the teams that are either interested or could be interested, Pittsburgh makes the most sense as a logical landing spot. With Johnson in Carolina, George Pickens slides into the de facto number 1 role for the Steelers, but there's not much else behind him. Calvin Austin III, Marquez Callaway, Van Jefferson and rookie Roman Wilson present the next best receiving options, and they're all better suited to be in a number 3 or 4 role. With the uncertainty the Steelers have at QB with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, adding a premier receiver like Aiyuk, who could shoulder the load as a 150-target deep threat, would be a big win for a Pittsburgh team with playoff aspirations. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Brandon Aiyuk? Leave your opinion in the comments.